From streaming out of a bedroom to just 1 or 2 viewers, to having 1 million people watching live. From getting banned by Twitch for crossing a line, to performing on the World Cup stage. Today, we're stepping into the life of IShowSpeed, Darren Watkins Jr. I was born on the 21st of January 2005 in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up right there. As a kid, I wasn't thinking about how to plan my future. I was into soccer, sports games, and online videos. Around 2020, I started streaming NBA 2K, Fortnite, and FIFA from my bedroom. At first, barely anyone was watching. In the first week, there were only 1 or 2 people in the stream. The second week, I averaged about 4 viewers. By the third week, it was still only a little more than a dozen. Most people would have shut the camera off by then. I didn't. I quickly realized that people weren't only there for the game itself. They wanted to see how I reacted after a loss, whether I would scream after a win, and what I would do when something completely ridiculous happened. So, I put my emotions right at the center of the frame. When I lost, I complained. When I scored, I celebrated. If something crazy happened, my whole reaction was written across my face. Every win and every loss became a question. What was I going to do next? Little by little, people stopped coming just for the game. They started waiting for my reaction. At the beginning of 2021, my YouTube channel had around 12,000 subscribers. By June, it had passed 1 million. By the end of the year, it was around 3 million. Before that, once a stream ended, almost nobody remembered who I was. Then more and more people started clicking in just for me, simply to see what I would get up to that day. But the same style that brought attention also made the risks bigger. In December 2021, I appeared on Aiden Ross's live stream show. The things I said on that stream crossed a line, and Twitch later banned my account, citing sexual coercion or intimidation. I posted a screenshot of the ban email on social media. Ironically, even more people learned my name after that. But it was also the first time I really understood that losing control on camera could not always be treated like a joke. Later, I apologized and admitted that I had been stupid and immature at the time. The Twitch door had closed, but YouTube was still there. The ban did not end my story, but it was the first real price I had to pay. In 2022, at 17, I went abroad for the first time. I went to London. Before that, the farthest I had really travelled was places like Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or Florida. But when I got to London, I realised for the first time that people in different countries could speak and think in completely different ways. Before, my live stream was just one wall, one computer, and one chat window. After that, I started taking the camera out into the streets. Cities, strangers, different languages, and whatever happened along the way could all become part of the stream. People used to enter my room through the screen. Now, I was taking them with me into someone else's world. In 2023, I thought I was just taking a trip through Europe. Somewhere along the way, it turned into a tour. One time, a kid told us he knew the Prime Minister of Albania. The security team did not believe him at first. About 20 minutes later, we were actually meeting the Prime Minister. That was when I realized what made travel live streaming so powerful. It was not about filming famous sights. You never knew where the next stranger might take you. From then on, making decisions on the spot, following a sudden lead, and letting the unexpected happen became part of the show. Soccer was opening another door for me too. I had always seen Cristiano Ronaldo as my idol. Then, in 2023, I actually got to meet him. It was more than a dream coming true. More soccer fans started seeing me for the first time. Later, I made a show with Kai Cenat, and the audiences from our 2 streams started crossing over. I had started out as a kid yelling at a game screen. Now gamers, soccer fans, sports media, and pop culture audiences were all watching me in the same live stream. The trip that really showed me how big things had become was Southeast Asia in 2024. During one live stream in Indonesia, more than 1 million people were watching at the same time. I cried because that was the number I had always wanted to reach. And this time, it was not a collaboration. It was just my own stream. But the bigger the audience got, the more dangerous the real world became. In Malaysia, the crowd got so large that I was stuck inside a restaurant and could not safely get out. Similar things happened in Austria and Norway. I used to worry that nobody was watching. Then I started worrying about whether a crowd that big could even be controlled. In 2025, I went on a 35-day tour across the United States, and I also traveled through China and Mongolia. By then, travel streaming was no longer one guy walking out the door with a phone. Camera operators, security, translators, transportation, local coordination, and platform communication had all become part of keeping the show moving. On camera, I always looked full of energy, but walking 20 to 40,000 steps a day on a long trip was still a lot to handle. Protein powder, honey, bananas, a stretching band, and my computer all became part of what I carried with me. That kind of non-stop energy takes food, training, sleep, and a whole team to maintain. When a streamer is working from a room, they can shut the camera off when they are tired. But once the whole team is already on the road, if one person stops, the rest of the schedule can stop with them. From the end of 2025 into early 2026, I spent about a month traveling through 20 African countries. My camera showed cities, food, soccer, and ordinary people who came over to say hello. In January 2026, the Ghanaian government announced that it had approved issuing me a Ghanaian passport. My identity was no longer limited to that of an American internet creator. I was starting to become part of conversations about Africa, the diaspora, and global youth culture. But the moment that truly put me on the world stage was the World Cup. In the past, I had only watched soccer through a screen, followed Ronaldo's matches, and shouted at every goal. On the 19th of July 2026, I took the stage at the closing ceremony before the Spain-Argentina final and performed my own original song, Champions. This time, I was not just watching the match. I had become part of the show. As of the 18th of August 2026, my YouTube channel had around 60.9 million subscribers. But that number cannot explain everything I went through. I did not jump straight from a bedroom to the World Cup stage. I faced live streams with only a few people watching. I dealt with a ban, an apology, dangerous crowds, and a life that kept moving from place to place. Eventually, I took the stream out of my room and handed it over to a team, a platform, an audience, and every stranger who suddenly stepped into the frame. I once compared my team to the crew in One Piece. Looking back, that says more about my story than simply saying, I made it. One person can turn on a camera, but going farther has never depended on one person's strength alone.
4 years ago, I was in my mom's house, streaming, barking, Cristiano Ronaldo, Suey, lighting my house on fire. A kid from Ohio, Portugal, just doing anything, and I just performed at the World Cup final. So you know what that means, bro? You can do whatever you want, chap. Tour was great. I love y'all. Everybody's life is hard, chap. Everybody's gonna deal with challenges. You gotta get over them. Get through it.